Aloha. Do you ever question yourself where the names of our island streets come from? Well, that's why we have our weekly Aloha Authentic segment to help answer that question and share some mo'olelo behind the streets given names. This month, we visit English name streets, and to start off this month, we visit the island of Maui to start capturing stories from their streets. This week, we bring attention to the sugar plantation era in Hawaii's history. In the Ahupua of Paia, in the moku of Hamakua Poko on the island of Maui, lies a street that is named after the most successful sugar planter in the islands. We're talking about Baldwin Avenue, named after Henry Perrine Baldwin. Henry Baldwin, along with Samuel Thomas Alexander, created Alexander and Baldwin, one of the 5 companies nicknamed the Big Five that controlled the sugar industry and associated businesses in Hawaii. Both Baldwin and Alexander were sons of missionaries, and they first met in 1843 as little children, then grew up together, became close friends, and later started working together at the Waihe'e sugar plantation, Alexander as the manager and Baldwin as his assistant. In 1870, the two had purchased 571 acres of land and opened Alexander and Baldwin Plantation of Paia, which then led to the official establishment of Alexander and Baldwin Incorporated in 1894. Did you know? Now you do.
Wow, interesting. So they grew up together here in Hawaii?
Yes, so Baldwin actually was born here in Hawaii. His father was a missionary who came early, and he was a pastor and a physician. I believe it was here on Hawaii, on Oahu and Hawaii Island, and then on Maui, where I think he just resided for the remaining of his life.
Interesting, I didn't know that. Okay, so who all makes up the Big Five then?
Okay, so I can never remember this, so I have a list. Castle and Cook, Alexander and Baldwin, of course, which we know today. C. Brewer and Company, American Factors, which is now known as AmFac, and Theo H. Davies and Company. So I know we're more familiar, especially with Alexander and Baldwin, or A and B today, but there still have some of these that continue.
Okay,
today.
very cool. And so this is what they opened up. And where was the very first sugar plantation? It wasn't this one, was it?
No, so these are actually all the buildings that reside here in downtown Honolulu.
Okay.
But the first sugar plantation actually opened in 1835 by Ladd and Company, and that was known as the Old Sugar Mill of Koloa, and that's on the island of Kauai. However, the first sugar mill in the kingdom was founded on the island of Lanai by a Chinese man in the year 1802. And then it didn't come until 1836 where the first shipment of sugar and its molasses throughout its production was shipped to the United States.
Wow, very interesting. And of course, the sugar industry was huge here. How did this impact Hawaii?
Oh, there's not enough time to share, but many different facets. And just to share a couple, one, sugar takes a lot of water to grow, which means a lot of water had to be directed from the mountains and the streams from reaching the communities down at the shoreline and diverted to the sugar, the plantations. So imagine it took about 1 ton of water to produce 1 pound of refined sugar. So that's a large amount of water. So it started to displace our Hawaiian communities that weren't getting the freshwater resource that they needed to survive. So that's one. And then two, of course, what we know as the Bayonet Constitution, which was a constitution written by a group of white businessmen, plantation workers, and lawyers that they forced King Kalakaua in the year 1887 to sign this new constitution at gunpoint, at bayonet point, hence the name. And that had stripped a lot of the powers from the Hawaiian monarchy and changed a bunch of things, including the voting process. So as an entity of Hawaii, it definitely changed its structure, how it moved forward from that point.
And Hawaii known as a melting pot here, right? Do you think the sugar plantations had a big impact?
Oh, definitely. So, of course, a bunch of different ethnic groups were brought to the islands because of the plantation. And we'll be speaking with a docent at the Hawaii Plantation Village in our part 2, so stick around, where he'll talk more in detail of what groups of ethnicities were coming to the islands. But of course, you know, from making their life here, settling down, becoming more infused with their islands, it became a local flair tradition. A lot of things we have today is a result of that, including, you know, spam musubi, saimin, loco moco.
All the good.
All the good stuff.
All right, wonderful. Okay, so again, that's coming up in just a bit. All right,
stay tuned.
Thanks so much, Kamaka.
Thank you, Kelly. Good morning. We're here at Waipahu Plantation Village, and no other place other than Waipahu. But a perfect place to come and check out if you haven't already. Of course, in that first segment of Aloha Authentic, we were talking about Baldwin Avenue on the island of Maui, named after Henry Baldwin, which led into Alexander founder in Baldwin, and we know that's one of the big five that led into the sugar industry. So who better to speak to than a docent here at the Waipahu Plantation Village, Robert Castro. Good morning, Uncle.
Good morning.
So thank you, first of all, for having us here and sharing your knowledge with us. More about the sugar industry. So can you give us just an overview of when this sugar industry took place and what was the outcome from it?
Okay, so the first sugar plantation started on the island of Kauai at Kaloa in 1835. And as the demand for sugar increased, then as the planters went out seeking labor, the first country was China, where about 46,000 Chinese eventually came to Hawaii. And looking at the conditions there, it was kind of ripe because of all the opium wars and whatnot. People wanted to get away from that. And so you find as each group came, there was something there happening that encouraged people to come to Hawaii.
So natural disasters along with like economic problems or so forth, but were there also people who went out and recruited?
Oh yeah, the planters actually went out to these various places and recruited people to come to Hawaii.
Now, so you mentioned Chinese, who was the first group of people. What other ethnic groups came in its order?
Okay, the Japanese came in 1868. They call them the Ganin Mono, which they're celebrating their 150th anniversary right now. There were conflicts between both governments, so it took another 17 years for sustained immigration from Japan. They were the largest group to come to Hawaii as single men. Then Portuguese in 1878, about 20,000 or so, followed by the Okinawans, who came as part of Japanese immigration. The Puerto Ricans in the latter part of 1900, about 6,000 plus. Koreans in 1903, about 7,000 plus. And the last group, 1906, were the Filipinos.
Now, was there a strategy in the terms of when these groups of people were brought over by the plantation owners?
The only one I've read about really where the Koreans were brought here specifically because there were some labor issues going on here. And so that might undercut what the folks here were demanding in better wages or better housing conditions. And but that's the only one that I recall specifically. The others was some countries were no longer allowing their people to come here. So the planters are looking for where the labor is. And so you go from one country to another and wherever you can find them.
Now today, we all know Hawaii is such a unique place around the world where this mixing pot of different cultures. Does that come from the sugar industry era?
Oh, of course, because and although immigrants spoke different languages, different customs, so they were in separate camps. But over time, these workers are sitting at lunch. We always talk about food, and so they sit around at lunch, and they're looking at each other's food, and then before you know it, they're sharing each other's food. And so you look at the cuisine today where they're borrowing from all of these different ethnic groups to create new menu items, And so we believe that it really started on the plantations.
Oh, that's so interesting. Thank you very much, Robert. We could be here all day to talk story.
Sure.
But in terms of food, we have the spam musubi, we have saimin, which I didn't know was not called saimin when you go to Japan. It's called ramen, so saimin is our own little flair. But a whole bunch of those, so to know that a lot of things today come from that era, it gives a little bit more respect. But for now, here at Waipahu Plantation Village, come check it out when you have the chance. Back to you ladies in the studio.
Awesome, interesting.
Yeah, definitely check out Hawaii's Plantation Village. That drive to Waipahu, well worth it. It really is like taking a step back in time. A lot of families, including my own family, that's how they came to Hawaii, is they worked on the plantation. Not just an important part of our history, but as Kamaka said, of how we live today. Our food very much started with the plantation days. So go take a drive out to Waipahu.
Yeah, it's definitely worth checking out.